Hey, you guys, welcome to the podcast, Last Hobo's Ramble, episode 2. This is Adam. I'm here with John, and we'd like to, first of all, thank all of you for listening, and especially all of you that listened to the first episode. It's a learning experience, but it's going to get better as we go. So, how are you today, John?
Well, I'm good. How about you, bud?
Good.
You had an exciting week, huh?
I had an exciting week.
Well, the
Uh,
weekend's here, and have no fear, the weekend is here.
yeah. Good news is, well, there's not any, but that's
Right.
okay.
Well, we might find a few things to talk about,
That's right.
especially in the music sector, East Texas music, such as that. So, did you see that they have announced the inductees to the 2023 Songwriter Hall of Fame?
I did not see that.
This year it's going to be Keith Urban, Kix Brooks, Casey Beathard. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Beathard. And then there's Rafe Van Hoy and David Lee Murphy. I always like David Lee Murphy.
Me too.
Thought he was really underrated. Kix Brooks is the closest to a Texas guy I think we have on the list. And he's from Shreveport. So, he had to spend a little time in some of those East Texas clubs playing around there. But I wonder why they didn't get Brooks and Dunn at the same time.
I don't know. That's a good question. Uh,
Unless Dunn just didn't write that much and I don't know it, which is possible. So, but yeah, that's going to be sometime in the near future. They're going to induct all of those guys into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, which, hey, good for them, right?
right.
And tonight over at Bonita Creek in Nacogdoches, it's going to be Randy Rogers. And it is a sold out show, so if you didn't get your tickets, it's too late. So
Oh,
probably
man.
be a really good show.
I,
So
I've never seen Randy in concert, but that's a good venue. I mean, it'd be a good place to see him.
I've seen Randy a couple of times, and I went to one of his songwriting events out in Lukenbach when they did the Towns Van Zandt movie release. There was several of them there. It was Randy and Kent Finley and Radney Foster, and I'm quite sure I'm missing somebody, but yeah, it was a good time. They put on a good show and really had a good time there, man. He puts on a good show. He's high energy,
Yeah.
Yeah, it brings a lot to the table. That's about as far as I know. Well, see, Lost Frontier out here on Highway 21 going towards Manny. They have someone playing every night, or I'm sorry, every weekend this month. I do not have a calendar in front of me. Maybe I can get that sent over. See who it is. But it's typically local talent or someone passing through. So some pretty good shows there. I'm pretty certain.
Well, and that's how folks get started, playing the restaurants with the live music venues and the smaller venues. So it's important for people to support them whenever they can.
Right. Well, as we both know, if you really want to get to know these people and be friends with them, you have to start when they're in these small clubs because, once they start playing 10,000 seat arenas, they're not going to remember you hardly. So if their shows throughout the year, they will start to remember you, So
Right. It's like that one guy, ZZ Top had.
yeah, that's a great story, isn't it?
I like that one. They go to play a venue, and the curtain opens, and it's just them on stage and one guy sitting out in the audience. He turns around to go, and they're like, "Hold on, man, you're here. We'll play for you." So they play their whole set. Kind of had them a little intermission, and went out and bought the guy Coca-Cola, and he went to shows for years after that, and he would always come up and remind him, "Hey, I was the one guy," but he would never give him his name or any of his information. He just kind of wanted to be left alone. So I'm like, they always
Yeah.
remember playing a whole set for just this one guy watching.
Yeah, I saw a picture of them starting out, and I want to say that it was at the Nederland High School or something like that.
It was something crazy.
You know,
One of our local morning show hosts was responsible for some of their first shows in the Beaumont area.
yeah, they had a real strong connection with the Beaumont area. It's amazing that area, how much music is in that area and how much it started there and it's grown there.
Yep.
It's phenomenal. Could probably do a show. We could do a show on who all's come out of that area. I guarantee you.
Oh,
And
no
it take
doubt.
more than an hour.
No
Yeah,
doubt at all. So
definitely.
I got some news here. So up in Carthage, you got the Texas Country Music Hall of Fame.
Yep.
26th annual Classic Country Music Festival weekend is coming up. It's going to be next weekend, 11th through the 13th. They have some They have some inductees. Some of these you'll recognize, I'm sure, for the year. Clay Cooper, KT Olson,
Yep.
Oslin, excuse me.
Oswald.
Yep. Uh, Mo Bandy and Joe Stampley are going to be there.
They're not. Are they inducted, or are they just going to be there?
It just says special guests, Mo Bandy and
Okay.
Joe Stampley. Those two guys are always a fun time.
Oh yeah.
uh, Looks like they're going to have some more entertainers here. Dallas Wayne, MC. Uh, he's going to be the MC there. Linda Davis, Lang Scott, Bobby Tomberlin, Tess Frizzell, Randy Seymour, and Chase Dawson.
Mm. Sounds like it might be a good weekend.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you're around Carthage, go check it out. It's where they have the Tex Ritter
Yep.
Museum as well.
We got the museum, and y'all got the grave site,
That's right.
right?
They got a statue of him sitting out there by a horse playing a guitar, don't they?
I believe they do. If you up that way, take off and go to I believe it's what Highway 77 towards Shreveport. Just a
Mm-hmm.
little ways out of town on the right hand side is a statue, and I believe the gravesite of Jim Reeves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and if you don't get a chance to stop, if you're just driving through there, you put your hand over your heart.
That's right. Show
A
some
little
respect.
respect.
Take your
Right.
ball cap off.
That's right.
It's similar crossing the state line.
That's right. Yeah, that's another area that seems to have quite a few people come out of it too.
Yeah, take your hat off, cross your heart, say the Texas Pledge of Allegiance if you want to, but just don't try to hold your breath. We got enough trouble on the Texas highways without you passing out.
That's right.
Some of those bridges are a little longer than the others.
Yeah.
And that statue out in front of the Texas Country Music Hall of Fame is bronze. I was just thinking if I hit it big someday, how much bronze it would take to make a statue of me.
It wouldn't be cost effective, little buddy.
I think that's probably what they would say. Like everybody go, well, I knew Adam. He wasn't a midget. Well, we ran
That's
out of
right.
money. We ran out of money.
That's right.
He wasn't a little person. Well, we had to take off the height. We wanted to be accurate on the width.
That's right. Yeah. Kids go to run around that statue, it'd take them 2 days.
Hey, we were going to drive there, but we just had to see the back. We didn't have enough gas to
That's
get to the
right.
front.
That's right. I tell you what, I don't think it's something you or I either one have to worry about having statues made after us. So.
No, but I bet we've been printed on more than one dartboard. We probably.
Oh, I guarantee you. I guarantee you. So.
Everybody got to have a following, even if it's a negative following.
Have you been reading any good books?
Yeah. So I've been thumbing through I've always been a fan of the Uncle John's Bathroom Reader. I don't particularly read in the bathroom, but it was marketed as a as kind of a trivia and just interesting blurbs about certain things. And they do have a Texas edition, which is always great because I've never seen a Uncle John's Bathroom Reader any other state edition, which is not surprising. We tend to have editions of things that other folks don't.
That's right. We have our own
Just
edition of just about everything.
it's a Texas podcast, so we think a lot of ourselves here, uh, and we certainly love Texas. But I've been going through that. It's been some interesting things in there. Uh, I didn't realize there were that many creeks and streams in Texas named Spring Creek. I think it was more than 33, wasn't it?
More than 33 is what you had said, right?
Yep. Yep.
That
So,
is interesting. And probably a restaurant or two.
yeah, right. Well, we know for a fact that that's the case.
Yeah.
Um,
I've been reading on it since Christmas, but I've been pretty busy, so I just read when I can. But I've been reading the Richard Dobson book, Gulf Coast Boys. You'll find it particularly interesting, I think. One, cause we know of Richard Dobson mostly through the Rodney Crowell song Nashville 1972. But he was a songwriter back in that day with Guy and Towns and David Olney, that whole bunch, But it's little stories in there about those guys and about living on the Gulf Coast down, Galveston and the Beaumont area. So it's pretty good. It's not something that you're gonna. I mean, it's not gonna be the novel of the year probably, but it's a good little book if you like to read about Guy and Towns and some of those guys. It's got some interesting little stories in it.
okay. Yeah, and of course, Guy he was from down around Rockport, right?
Rockport,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So originally started out in Monahans, which
Yep.
that's just desert out there, man.
Yeah.
I can't blame you for wanting to go to the Gulf Coast, but
That's why he had such fascination with trains.
it was probably a pretty big deal back in that day, and you got to realize, the song was Texas 1947 when he talks about the coming of the diesel or diesel train.
Yep.
How big a deal that must have been to see a train that wasn't a coal burner. For a kid who's probably fascinated by trains.
Absolutely.
I think Rodney Crowell, I got Rodney Crowell on the brain this morning. I think Robert Earl King said it best when he did that song on one of the compilation CDs. He said that his favorite line was, it says, was it being 6 years old, I'd seen some trains before. So matter of factly that, hey man, I've got some age behind me. I've seen a few trains, right?
Yeah. I'm an experienced train watcher.
That's exactly right. So, that's the beauty of being a great songwriter like Guy Clark was. He can bring that and the little things in there that most people miss, that other people get. And I think that's where you get your true fans from. Words matter, Adam.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. They have a big music festival in Rockport every year.
Oh yeah. Well, we have music festivals this time of year every weekend somewhere.
Yeah.
We just really, if anybody knows of some coming up, let us know, and we'll be glad to talk about them and put them on our social media and help promote them. Especially if you know any up and coming artists, tag us in their Facebook page or something where we can listen to them, and we'll be glad to try to help promote.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So coming up in September the 2nd, you got the Fiesta en La Playa, Rockport, Texas.
Oh yeah. Sounds Hispanic for some reason.
Yeah, it could have been the Spanish. It could have been a wallaby.
Could have been a wallaby. I don't know.
Of course, hey, November 3rd through the 5th is the Songwriter Festival in Rockport. Of course,
now that's
pretty good ways away, but
that'd be worth going to.
I'm sure. I mean, hey, I had heard that Guy's sister's still alive down there, but I don't know how true that is.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure that We wouldn't be the first two idiots that went asking around, you know.
Yeah, she may not have the humor to let's just say humorous at that
Right,
age. I know
right.
young.
Well, I would say this: if she's guy's sister, I doubt the word "young" really applies, right?
Now,
Maybe young at heart, but
you're probably right about that.
so you got any more of them festival things you want to talk about? As far as I know, that's about all that's going on around here right now. We don't have much else. You know, in the heat of the summer, school's getting ready to start back, so things will start to slow down. So I'm sure somewhat on the entertainment end.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, and especially for outside stuff at this point, it is too hot, in my humble opinion, to be doing too much outside. So hopefully, all the concerts coming up are indoors.
Yep, yeah, it would be nice, but even then, it's going to be hot in there if you pack people in on top of each other.
Yep.
Oh, I did see that later this month. One real quick thing that Johnny Lee is going to be at Lukenbach, man, in
You,
Lukenbach Dance Hall.
well, last week I think we missed mention it. I don't always get my emails like I'm supposed to from some of the notifications, but I want to say Johnny Lee was at the Honky Tonk in Silsbee, Texas last
I
weekend.
think you're right. I think I seen the same thing, and I was like, well, we missed that for some reason. I don't really know why, but
I don't know if it wasn't advertised well, or I mean, they do have some pretty big names that do come to Silsbee to that venue.
yeah,
On
they really do. If we could get them to tag us up in their Facebook or something where we would get those notifications, we could, it'd be a lot easier. It's easier when it goes across your Facebook feed, isn't it?
Unfortunately, yes. They also have a little restaurant in there too. I mean, they serve food, and it's almost, you know, it's a kind of one for all stop there.
Yeah, and that's a lot nicer when you can go out to dinner and a show without having to leave and drive from place to place, you know. Oh, you're going to want to hear this.
Uh-oh.
Dear Boise fans, it is hard for me to do, but I'm going to have to cancel my show on August 5th at Ford Center. Under the advisement of doctors, I need another day or two to rest my voice and get better. There's nothing I love more than to play live shows, and I am so disappointed to not be able to do this for you. More information will be sent to those who bought tickets. Love you, Luke Bryan. Wow. That whole singing thing, buddy, it strained him.
So go ahead and apologize to all the Luke Bryan fans, but
Yeah, you're probably going to quit following us though.
yeah. Must have had a sale on Miss B jeans in the next county or something.
Something.
That guy. Anyway, hey, you know what? Once again, you can't be mad at people who have successfully marketed themselves.
No.
And hey, some of the guys that we don't dig their music, they've marketed themselves and they've done a good job of it. So,
well, and to be fair, they haven't marketed themselves. They have been marketed by others, and that's okay, you know.
Well, they get in the machine and they get branded, and they're making money, you know.
Yep. Yeah, and it's just not for me, you know.
Me either.
Oh.
I mean, we honestly we're more geared toward what they call the folk scene, but really that is more in line with older Texas country music than anything else now. And so,
right. Yeah, we're more on the traditionalist side, so.
It looks like the next big thing you got coming up in Honky Tonk, Texas is Tab Benoit.
Tab Benoit, I don't know if you know much about him, but I believe he's out of the New Orleans area, and he is quite a guitar player, man. So I mean, if you get a chance, go check the guy out. He's actually very, very good. It's worth listening to. Hey, Hey, I got something to say. If we got a lot of animal people, all our friends are animal people, and we are too. So, I always see in the wintertime people talking about bringing your dogs in from the cold. Well, when you're over 100 degrees every day for 20 something days,
Yeah.
bring your dogs in from the heat or get them someplace in a good shade and water and maybe a little. My dog hates water other than drinking, but if you can get a kiddie pool or something for him to get in, cool off,
Uh,
anything helps.
and on that note, I'd like to say to all the dogs out there listening, if your owner leaves you outside in this weather for extended periods without any relief, feel free to bite that dude.
Yeah, tear them up.
You mentioned everybody going to the Randy Rogers show at Bonita Creek. They got a couple good restaurants right there close.
They really do. They got two just about in one building, really.
Yep, right
Yeah,
across the street.
yeah. You got Clear Springs. It's just great for fish and shrimp and chicken fried steaks and things like that. And then on the back side of that building is Antipastas.
Which is some of our favorite food, which is Italian food, and it's delicious.
It's very, yeah, it's amazing food. Both places are awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I would say Clear Springs is it's geared toward what they call American cuisine, right? And like you said,
Hmm.
you got seafood and burgers and steaks, and never been disappointed there, and certainly never been disappointed at Antipastas.
And Clear Springs is it's definitely a come as you are restaurant. You know,
Yes, yeah.
you don't need to feel like you're dressed up. Maybe you're coming in from fishing, or you're just traveling through, and you feel like, man, I've been in the car sweating for a while, or my clothes are not pressed out like they were this morning. It's not gonna matter. People are there for the food, not the people watch you. So
Yep. And what's I would say unique about Clear Springs when you talk about a restaurant that you have to call it a chain because there's four locations, but it's how far they're spread out. There's one in Nacogdoches, of course. There's one in Midland, and if you've never been to Midland, boy, I tell you, Clear Springs is probably the best thing there, I would imagine. And then you have Tyler and one in New Braunfels.
yeah, they're spread pretty far, and that chain hasn't been open. Some of those haven't been open that long, really. It's over the past few years, so
Yeah.
it's not like it's been chained out like Chili's or something like that. So
I mean, Nacogdoches is surprisingly for a college town. They got some legit eateries.
they do. You and I have spent time over there doing gun shows and things in the past, and we never come up short of good places to eat or things to do or go and see or anything. Nacogdoches. It's not a bad place to be if you're going out.
Not at all.
Yeah, usually there's quite a bit of live entertainment around town. Now, you may have to ask about that because I'm not sure where you would get that information from on some of the places if you're not from around that area. But just ask around, and most people can direct you. Most of your wait staff in Nacogdoches is going to be college kids.
Right. Yeah. Either one of those two places. I know Amber and I ate at Antipastas. Man, who did we go see? It's been a couple years ago,
Is
but
that when you went with Gwen and Amanda and I didn't get to come in?
yeah, it was Aaron Watson, wasn't it?
Aaron Watson, I missed that show.
Yep. Oh yeah, you were up in
Idaho.
you were up in the Great White North working.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, that show was what I'll call a breath of fresh air in amidst COVID, because that was around about the time COVID was really kicking off. I think.
I think COVID was in full swing because that's where I got it at, was in Idaho for the
Right.
first time.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I remember you calling me and saying, "All I know is I got to get back to Texas because I think I'm about to die." Which No laughing matter. A lot of people did die, but
I
John
went,
def- John definitely wanted to suck his last air in Texas.
I did, and I tell you what, I did think I was going to die. I went to the emergency room that night, and they were talking about, well, next thing we can do is put you on a respirator, and I'm good. I got to go. I got to go, man.
Yep.
So it's hard to breathe on top of those mountains anyway, for
Hmm.
people like me and you, and
Well, we're so used to sea level breathing,
right, right.
and at times it feels like we're below sea level.
Well,
The humidity's 500% this week. Oh,
well,
great. Let me get my snorkel.
and if you're listening, you don't want to know what humidity feels like. Go take the hottest shower you can. Get out and don't dry off. Just put your clothes on. That's
That's
what
it.
humidity feels like.
That's it.
And it's the struggle is real.
Buddy, that's why all the women in Texas have big hair, because that humidity hits. It
It,
all just
it
looks
freezes
like
us.
that's it. They don't have to tease nothing, buddy. The weather doesn't.
Hey, and and God bless them. They doing the best they can with the situation they got to work with.
That's why
Right?
we cut all ours off.
That's exactly right. Well, do you have anything else you want to add?
I don't know, man. I think we hit all the news for this week.
All the news it is the news.
All the news that is the news. We hit some big Texas names there. Some that are going to keep coming up. I'll say that. But
I imagine so.
I'm gonna have to give me a copy of that Richard Dobson book.
Well, I'd tell you I'd loan it to you, and I didn't want to say anything on the air, but I loaned you my Ray Wiley Hubbard book, and you were going to read it, but I don't think you ever got into it.
I did read it.
Well, if I ever get it back, or
Here we go. It's in there on
I'm
the
just saying.
bookshelf. I
Well,
gotta see
JR
it.
would like to read it.
Oh, okay. Well, I gotta see you to get it back to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you gonna get it back. I promise.
All right. All right. Well, I'll swap you that in the Richard Dobson book.
Well, you might not ever get that one back either.
Yeah, I understand. I couldn't remember which one that was, that Pickers and Poets book, because I remember debating on that one and the Jesse Dayton book, The Bow Monster. Because he is a phenomenal guitarist out of Beaumont. He's on tour with Samantha Fish right now, but he has played with Waylon and all kinds of people, So he's a real deal guitar player
There you
and
go.
a songwriter, everything. I mean, so if you get a chance to see him, Jesse Dayton and Samantha Fish, I definitely would go to that. Matter of fact, I'm hoping they come back through Texas before too long.
That'd be a good one to see.
I think so. I definitely think so.
So on the Facebook page, we had posted a clip of an interview that the Highwaymen did, and so we could talk about the Highwaymen because they're 50% Texas.
Whoa! I know you're not good at math, there, little buddy.
Who did I miss? Who did I miss?
Hold on. If there's 4 people and 3 of them are from Texas.
Oh, crap! Forgot Chris.
I swear, man.
Yeah, I forgot Chris.
I'm glad you don't do my paycheck.
Well, here's the deal, though. Here's the deal. When we talk about Chris, we love Chris.
Hang on. This is what he does. He's going to explain his way out of this, and like it's not his fault. Go ahead.
I'm sure, like many of the people listening that know of and about Chris Christopherson, he when you start looking at Chris a whole lot, he really takes on more of that West Coast vibe.
Well, he's lived out there doing movies and such for many years now,
Yeah. Somebody said something about that in a song one time, I think.
Yeah, Hank Jr.
That's right. Old Chris moved out to Los Angeles, Hollywood.
Yeah. Hollywood.
So anyway, we can talk about the Highwaymen because they're 75% Texas. But we posted that interview, the short clip of it on the Facebook page. So the interviewer basically suggests that people have been saying, hey, there's 4 of y'all got together so y'all could sell out these venues, mainly because y'all couldn't sell out as individuals. And so Johnny goes into a long patient explanation and explains to the guy. No, we sell out venues all the time. As a matter of fact, it's a struggle to schedule around our to schedule the highwaymen performances around our individual performances, just because of how busy we are. And Chris kind of makes a joke about, well, my venues are much smaller, but I'm selling them out too, and kind of laughs. And there's a little lull there, and Waylon goes, but I'd just like to say, if you ask us any more questions like that, we're going to burn your home. And it's quite possibly one of the most unexpected but best lines ever delivered in an interview with any music personality. I would venture to say there were no more questions of that nature.
And you have to realize this is a man that blew up a bar because they didn't pay him one night.
That's right. It was a bar in an old barn. It was an old barn. They're waiting around on the promoter to come back with their pay. And they wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. Everybody's gone. And then Waylon comes from the back room and says, all right, we're leaving. They get on the bus, and as they're headed out the driveway, pieces of the barn pass them. So.
And he had Billy Joe Shaver on the bus with him, which, that's like adding diesel to a fire right there, buddy.
Billy Joe claims he didn't know that the fuse was already lit on that party favor, and for me that was a kind of a hard to believe claim, but he swore.
I give a lot of passes to Billy Joe since he was one of the great Texas songwriters, but I do believe the man will tell a story every now and then. Not to speak ill of the dead, but
if he's by himself or with somebody, he embellishes a little bit.
And that's the difference that listening to the music when we were coming up, and we still like, is when they said outlaws, they meant outlaws. They didn't mean a guy who cut a song and didn't know that it was going to offend everybody, and it offended everybody. They meant guys like Waylon and Billy Joe and Johnny Cash. And Johnny Cash was kicked off the Grand Ole Opry at one time. Hank Williams kicked off the Grand Ole Opry. He was the biggest star of the time, so it's those guys were real outlaws. They did things the way they wanted to do them, and they did not care.
That's it.
So and that goes for their life and their music. So,
and they were perfectly okay with not being invited. So if you cut them off, there was no lawsuit. If you didn't play their music on your radio station or whatever, there was, hey, fine, don't play it.
Yeah.
But if
you don't like it, don't listen.
That's it. If you invite us to play, we're going to play the way we want to, and we're going to expect to get paid.
Exactly. That's right.
And we've said it before. You write as you live.
That's right.
That's just how these guys rolled.
Back on the highway, man, there's a lot of great stories about those guys. When I went to the Ray Wiley Hubbard Redneck Mother songwriting concert and songwriting lesson and concert some 20 years ago.
He named it that way on purpose, just so
you think so, man?
Just so y'all's tongue would beat y'all to death while y'all trying to say it.
Yeah. He says be careful what you write. You might end up singing it for the rest of your life. So, that's a good point.
Yeah. It's got to cross his mind when he has to do Snake Farm.
Oh, I'm telling you. He said, what's one of the things that hold you back? And I told him, well, I can't sing, And he goes, oh, you can't let that stop you. Look at Bob Dylan, and Chris Christopherson. I'm like, that's a couple of good ones to point out. Yeah. So when he did his show that night, he was telling that he had always wanted to meet Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash was a hero of his. And he's famous for saying that country music went to hell when Johnny Cash quit taking pills. He's telling in the show that he had always wanted to meet him. Said, well, he knew Waylon. Him and Waylon were friends. So the highwaymen were coming to Dallas. So he calls Waylon up and says, hey, man, I want to meet Johnny. He said, well, come on up. I'll get you on the bus with us. So he's on Waylon's bus, and he's going to get to meet Johnny. And here the door opens, and here comes Chris in. and said Chris is rubbing his throat and everything. And he says, "Hey man, hey Hoss, man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to sing tonight. I got a sore throat and this and that." I said, Waylon just looked at him and goes, "Well, who the hell's gonna know the difference?" So
Oh, don't you know it would have been fun? Just
I
to go
think it was their
flying
job
along.
to agitate each other. You have this ultra conservative,
Yeah,
big redneck like Waylon, and then you got liberal Chris Christopherson, arguably one of the greatest songwriters who ever lived, against one of the greatest songwriter musicians, singers who ever lived, and they just butt heads for fun. Kind of
yeah.
like other people I know, you know it?
Well, yeah, they aggravate
Okay.
each other.
Yeah.
But
So,
there's videos out there of when they were recording some of the Highwaymen stuff. They had kind of like little cubicles set up for them, I guess, just to kind of control the sound and the way the recording was going. But they would decorate. They said Chris started first decorating his cubicle, and said it just went all through Waylon the stuff he was putting on the walls. It's just to aggravate. But even Willie, I think I saw an interview where he said that
yeah.
Chris and Waylon would set out to drive each other just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. They love to butt heads with each other. And the thing is, here Chris Christopherson was a Rhodes Scholar, and you having all your degrees, you know what that means, man. It's not the guy's highly intelligent, whether you like his politics and things or not. But here he is, and Waylon keeps him on his heels. You know what I mean? You're thinking, oh, Waylon's not that sharp. That sucker is sharp, man. He knew his stuff. So
It's that street smart versus that book smart.
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's the Highwaymen's. I still argue that's the Mount Rushmore of country music. Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe if we replace Christopherson because his voice, but you got to throw something in there for him being the songwriter that he is.
man, I think you got to just leave it the way it is.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You gotta throw somebody in there for that songwriting prowess. I mean, of course, Willie, Johnny, they all wrote, but Christopherson, man, most of those guys covered his songs. That's what made. If you took everybody else that covered them and threw them out, he would have been very well off just from the other three covering them.
Yep,
So,
yep, you're right. I don't think he would have ever gotten the exposure. I think I honestly, in his case, if he hadn't been willing to perform as well, he wouldn't have done as well as he had.
no, I agree with that. I think that's a big part of it is you have to get out. There's no other way for people to hear your music because you can't really afford to hand out back in that day cassette tapes
Right.
or even in our time when it was CDs. You used to go cut a demo, and if they'd give you one, maybe two CDs.
Yep.
And you had to make the rest.
Yep.
Well, by the time you either had a computer or CD burner, and then you started buying CDs, and man, you had to be selective who you handed them out to, because they were not as it wasn't as easy to come by as it is today.
Yep. And the movies boosted him out in the forefront too. For those of us
Oh
who grew up.
yeah, well, I was gonna say he ran with some. He was quite the ladies' man back in the day. You see pictures of him and Rita Coolidge. I probably didn't say that right. My redneck accent on it. Rita Coolidge. Uh, uh, I don't think the second time was any better.
Hey, you know
Hey,
what?
edit in there. Hey, edit that out and just say her name where I was trying to say it.
No,
Okay.
no, no. But
You
don't
know.
try to say it again, or I will have to do some editing. Good
But
heavens.
he ran around with her back when he was younger, and Janis Joplin, and all the ladies of Nashville loved him, and we'll
Oh
get
yeah.
at him tell the Janis Joplin story later on. Well, I think we're about running out of time here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll tell the
but
Janis Joplin
that
story.
might have been his wisest decision ever.
Want to thank everybody for tuning in that has tuned in. Hopefully, we're providing some sort of entertainment for you. Even if you're just laughing at us, that's okay too. But we appreciate it. Certainly follow us on Facebook at Last Hobos Ramble. The podcast website is rss.com/podcasts/Last Hobos Ramble.